Hey everybody, welcome to Conscious Talk TV. We are providing information to bring awareness to humanity with our guest. And tonight we have Rick Jewers again, and he is going to, thank you Rick for being here, he's going to talk about the current energies and what's been happening on the planet with those energies. So, hey Rick, thanks for joining.
Hi Linda, thank you as well, and all of your viewers.
Yes,
This
thank you
is
all the viewers.
yeah. So yeah, we are in just such a very important time, and what we just come through, the last several days here with one of the commonalities throughout the light workers, if you will, and the divine beings was feeling the densities over Christmas in several ways. But, they were bombarded from several different sources of energy. It was just not only the mundane, while everyone was pretty well down in the 4D timeline over Christmas, is where most everyone was at, engaging with, family and lower dimensional things. So, but what was very noticeable with many, and I'm totally sure they can concur, that it was kind of uncomfortable these last several days being down there in the lower dimensional timeline, because what has happened prior, the divine ones and everyone ascending had advanced in higher degrees of sensitivity in conjunction with their divine gifts, and they have been powered much more. So let's say the empathic portion of you uh, over the Christmas period would feel the density perhaps much more than any time previous in your life here.
And that's just due to the energies that just occurred before, previous to Christmas, correct? So we were much more sensitive, and then Christmas came, and then we're a little bit where we could really feel it.
Yeah, that was an indication of your increased in prowess, how you could feel it more intensely. And it's because, your senses in that department have been upgraded as well.
Yeah.
But also in conjunction with this, um, over the last several days since the 21st, or let's say the last 3 days mostly, you were also being empowered. There was an influx of photonic light over the last several days as well. And, usually when that comes in to upgrade and power up the physical vessel for the next, few days or several days after that, there is the incubation period of the energy. And also, this had transpired and ran concurrently over the last 3 days. So there were more than one thing going on. And also with that, uh, let's say some of the regular sleep patterns happened because many were also divinely working from their astral state as well. So that was a commonality. Also, there should have been, I did not readily ask too many, I did just check with a couple, but there should have been through the nights over the last 3 days that a few or more than that should have awakened in very sweaty, hot bodies because Merkabas were also being tested on certain ones during this time, and also in conjunction with that, again receiving the huge influxes, photonic influxes of light powering you up for the next several days that we are entering into. So this most auspicious time here, the next several days, as we know, is so pertinent. But also while we were being powered up the last 3 days, there were so many bigger things happening that many were oblivious to, and just go about your normal human business more or less, and
Yeah.
just protect your energy for those days.
Mhm.
But having said that, there were higher galactic and divine things happening at a higher level.
Rick, can you explain the photonic light? I know I read that somewhere when I was reading some information on one of the sites. It's a wave of energy, I know that, but can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, to try to keep it simple, what it does, it's a positive energy that comes in, and it assists ones with eradicating the negativity as well. So it works sort of on a level. When I speak about when the yin and yang are balanced within one, then they're
Right.
ready to integrate more of the light. And so what we call this light is the photonic energy, is one source of it as well. And it's so important why it's happening is because we are taking these physical vessels into other dimensions. And this is why it's even occurring. If we were not, if we were just ascending without these physical vessels, none of these ascension symptoms would be occurring. None of this.
Yeah.
It's just that we chose to, let's say, take these human vessels where no man has gone before, if you will, on the Star Trek.
Woo,
You
yes.
know, yeah. So,
Yeah.
having said that, no, the photonic light is very important. It applies energy for activating the Kundalinis, the Merkaba, for aligning your power vortices of energy, what is inside you. It powers up the angels. It's a positive photonic energy. It's positive. And what it does is you're supplied with that to assist you in your own development, to get rid of the negative in the fear. And after you've done that, it powers you up to just send out all directions
Yeah.
your divine positive prowess, in which then some of you create in your reality out around you good things, magic, and harmony in the least. Does
Amen
that
to that.
explain it?
Yes, yes, it does. That sounds wonderful.
So what I
All
will
right.
say, periodically, and not to say I told you so, or to say, to your viewers in a conceited or grandiose way, but it is true. Uh, we mention when these influxes of light are going to be coming. In the past, I've done it several times when I put out the update, heads up, here's what's
Okay.
coming, and be prepared for it. So, however, this time I did not. I was also with this physical vessel, just laying low and in my bubble, right? Just waiting. I will say it
Yes.
got boring, but I saw when I tried to go outside of the bubble anytime, no roadblocks come up. So it's very clear just to, keep calm and just stay in one place.
Yeah, I know I was really tired, so I can relate to that for sure.
Mm.
Now, you mentioned the next several days are pertinent, and I know that there was also some electrical things happening just recently. So, can you touch on
Yeah.
the next several
Very
days?
quickly. Yeah. I'm getting right hot in here and I don't have the heater on. And my
Oh,
Merkaba must be activating again. So I may start glowing more than I am.
nice.
The
Well, you can pass it on through, Rick, to all of us.
Yeah, perhaps I can go, huh? That means our mission's done. You guys will be
No,
here shortly.
no, if you go,
um,
we're all going that's on the show. So, everybody that's joining
yeah,
us, thanks,
yeah, I
because we're
love
going with
that.
Rick.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
thing what Father said before, which was comical. I said I want to be back up there, beside you, Dad, and his words were, "What? You were bored when you were up here. You wanted to go down." So I said, oh yeah, okay, that's right. So
You're not happy either way, Rick. No.
yeah, but anyhow,
So Father's
before
going to
I
make you
answer,
stay down here and take care of business. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
I guess so. So that's we go with the flow, and that's what I do. Just getting back though to the CME and the photon light.
Yeah.
That again, the activity with the sun is going to increase in the next few days as well. So it's important to know that there'll be more influxes of light, what you could look at as energy, high vibrational energy for you. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
important for many to know, and let's say it could be exciting times with that as well, because it does raise the overall vibration when these events do occur, and it's in accordance with the divine plan and its divine timing. And having said that, I find it very auspicious, its timing for what some of the expectations are here at any moment or in the next few days, what is transpiring with the government things that
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
been waiting on to kickstart us into the rapid implosion of the corruption and all things not based on integrity, to
Yeah,
keep it simple.
yeah.
Um,
Hey,
now,
can I ask a question, Rick? We've got
sure,
well, not quite a question from Linda. She said someone said the sun rose in the west. Did you hear anything about that?
um,
She said
what
she
I
saw it
will
rose in the
say
west.
is I did not, but what I will say is that all of these things are possible because people are fluctuating on timelines and dimensions, and also you may get the reverse, as I mentioned in an update perhaps about a month ago, where you may look up in the sky in the night, and for one night, I was told, you may see all the southern constellations up here, while vice versa in Australia, they would see the northern constellations.
Oh, wow.
So, having said that, everything with this is possible because we are not, no longer, many of us are not restricted to space and time, and space is dimensions and it's timelines, it's all of that. So if someone says they saw the sunset in the west, it may very well be. I don't judge them on that because
Yeah.
I know what others have seen, and I know the possibilities with this because we're dealing with other realities, other dimensions, and many of your viewers I know can attest to that, their experiences as well. And no one is crazy. We know this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is very real.
Sweet. Well, it could be where it's shifting timelines too, since would that be why it's would be happening as well because of the
Well,
timelines?
there's many things to explain it. There's also reflections also that can occur that would give that sort of impression. But not only that, it's also when you have distortions in Gaia, actually, that you could have. This is going to be kind of wonky, but you could have your whole surroundings switching around or even changing. And yeah, anything is possible. And there are more than one explanation, what she is
Okay.
asking. But to keep everything simple, I just tell everyone, yeah, go, go with it, but,
Yeah.
don't repeat things unless it's that you feel it is truth or that it is accredited to some way. Because, we know everything is possible, but
Yeah.
what we wish to limit is confusion and a
Hmm.
separation from things that are intentionally put out there that did not occur. We will the magic that did occur
Yes.
and by misconceptions. We wish to keep this as pure as we can as we go forward. But
Awesome.
also, I suggest to everyone it's possible, and just because you didn't see it doesn't mean that it occurred or that one experienced it. Because if it is displaced in another reality, sun could rise in the west. We have many more
Yeah.
timelines besides this, and if
Yeah.
one is displaced in a timeline where that is so, yeah, it is.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Okay,
Mhm.
let's get back to the government. You were just getting ready to say, I know there's been some things happening, but the energies, and we've been kind of waiting for this implosion, so to speak.
Yeah, again, so, we alluded to this several times, and I will state the fact again to this that it's not all ascertained for me, but for what I'm given, I'm told it's it is a timeline that is there, it is secured, it is in place where, the quantum financial system does occur, but that is not the only timeline. So, having said that, it is looking like with every indication we're getting every day more and more various confirmations that it looks like we are going to enter that timeline.
Yeah.
And a couple things are happening with the electrical
Yeah.
grids. Now, I referred to our last agenda we did on December the 22nd. Uh, I did make reference in around the 12 to 13-minute mark about when there are important divine things happening that we do take out the power, we knock out the power grids. And, at that time, I was referring to the significance of where I'm at here. The power outages were like all over, let's say, what we call Vancouver and Victoria Island. And it was all around, centered around this area where I'm at. Now, excuse me. Also, at that time, what I'll share with your viewers, we did have, just to reiterate, we did have a huge splash that was seen here, a huge bang, and it was not lightning, it was not a meteorite, and it was a huge infusion of light. But along with it, to keep it simple, that infusion of light was the lock in of the 5D timelines and 5D grids. It was bringing it in closer. If you can imagine this most pertinent 5D timeline of the lowest, on the lowest echelon of the 5D spectrum,
Yeah.
we are locking in that lowest one. And to energetically do that, there's the way things really work. There is a lot involved with this, but to try to keep it simple, we bring that down very close to this timeline as well. So when they become very close, let's say it's much easier for ones to transport or communicate back and forth. And
Right.
also, this could probably cause what Linda was asking about the sun setting in the west, because when you have two realities so close together, it can cause reflections and difference of things as well. But I won't get into that now. But this is what I said. I won't get into that. I said the same thing when I began speaking about the electrical grids in our last interview. I said, I just kept it kind of short that at these great times we do put out the electrical power. And then I said, I'm not getting into that anymore. But now I am, because it has occurred. So, and it's widespread, and it's very significant also to see this from a divine perspective. Electrical grids, we've had outages. We're just looking at the US because the U.S. again is so instrumental in kicking off the quantum financial system and all of the new things. So this is why we always look at the U.S. because this is where the first spark is ignited to globally transition and transform the world as you know it now to quickly slide into that 5D timeline. So the U.S. is instrumental with Trump and with I believe you sent me a very good thing tonight, Linda, from Anna Von Reach, I believe her name is, and about I believe she mentioned in there now it may be over 70,000 indictments and will climb to over 100. Yes, that is very true. Okay, but I got to get back to the electrical stuff. Yeah, so New York, Texas, Louisiana, storms down there, Ohio, um, California with the CenturyLink outage, which is the 911 emergency calling system. That had numerous outages all across the U.S. And again, that is for important reasons because it's also linked in to, let's say, the emergency broadcast system to a source. So it's the same sort of or let's say the same sort of technology that emergency broadcasts may be made from as well.
Yes.
So it's important to note that it was not a coincidence and it was not an accident that the CenturyLink outage occurred across many states. So it's important to mention that, and in conjunction with the power outages that we had. Now, many may say, okay, we had storms and, we had wind here and things, but no, divinely, as I mentioned in our December 22nd interview,
Uh-oh. Hey, Rick, you froze up. You might have to call back or tap back in. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We appreciate it. Hello to everyone. I don't really have much to recap on. I will ask the question about any news on the blue lit sky in New York to Rick. I was thinking maybe he would probably say something about that. And he may not know that he is. Let me just have him dial back in. Hold on one second, you guys. Oh, there he is. He's going to dial back in. Well, I did send Rick something on today too, and I don't think he's going to talk about that today. But oh, there you are.
Oh, there you are.
You completely froze up. So when we were talking about the electrical energies, talking about electricity, freezing up. Of course, you already lit up, so we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah. So again, these outages are widespread, and it's in the U.S. and it's coming at a time when many things are happening. Again, Trump calling back the troops. Trump supposedly over in Iraq on Christmas night, and that also has some significance if we perhaps look at a reset of currencies and perhaps the dinar and things as well, because it is important, but also connections into Afghanistan from that meeting is all that I will share on that aspect.
Yeah.
I will say it was just not only Iraqi that met with Trump there in Iraq. There were other things happening.
Nice.
But nevertheless, all good things in preparation and a strategy for what's to come here. So,
hey, Rick, we have a question.
Yeah.
Two. Well, one, any news on the blue lit sky in New York? So you had mentioned about the electrical outages. So do you know anything about the blue sky in New York?
What I'm given on that is that this is part of the lock-in sequences of the 5D grid. As I mentioned, I believe in our interview on the 22nd, Linda, I believe I mentioned it there, that what occurred here was a lock-in sequence. But I
Yeah.
was given lock-in, it was part of lock-in sequences, plural. So
Okay.
when I Sharon Piccola Hartman actually shared that with me last evening, that it occurred in New York, and yeah, it is. At that time, I was given it's part of the lock-in sequence, and again, such a beautiful place for it to occur. But
Yeah.
also, the other place, down in Louisiana, next door to Texas, also another very pertinent location. And so again, there is a design with what is occurring. And for what I'm given, these are your confirmations, yes, that we're bringing that grid down, like here's New York, right? And we're
Right.
bringing the grid down close, the same as what we did where I'm at here in Vancouver when we brought that down and locked in, sort of. So this is the analogy that I use to present it to the others so that they can more readily understand the dynamics of the energy and the design of what is really happening. So this way it's much more easier to comprehend when I use it this way.
Okay.
I feel and I believe. So yes, so New York and Louisiana, also in California, there where you're at, Linda. There
Yeah.
was also the lights, sort of a light structure seen there as well. I don't know what part of California, and I know if you would have seen it, you would have shared it.
Yeah.
But what I did do is on my Facebook timeline here, I did share a post where someone kind of put it together for California, I believe, New York, and Louisiana, and they might have did a little bit more with it. So again, there is a pattern, and it's not by chance, and it's an important square grid. If you plot the locations of these, you will show that it's more square-like, that it does have a sort of a pattern to it and what it creates. So that again signifies the pertinence of it and that it is not random.
Right.
So that
Right.
assists with that.
Okay. Awesome. And we have another, I don't know if you want to touch on this, Natalia, Rick, can you touch more on what is happening with Andaris? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I'm
You
not.
mentioned it
Could
before
you
2 weeks ago.
expand on that? I'm not. Enderis, I'm not familiar with the term. Sorry. What is it?
Oh, okay. Well, it just says you mentioned it before 2 weeks ago. I left them out as instructed, and I had 6 literally disappear overnight on Solstice Day. Andaras,
Oh,
Andara.
okay. Who's this?
Natalia?
Okay, I requested. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, sorry, I got you now. Yeah,
Yeah.
Andera. Okay, and six. Did she say six disappeared? Did she?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
that
Overnight
that is
on Solstice.
excellent, and this is leading up to what we were hoping, Linda. I'd mentioned before about the crystals. I'd requested certain ones, put them out, and just see what happens. Uh, this is uh,
Wow.
this is very important, and thank you so much for sharing that now, without me creating or suggesting things in the future. I recommend all of the viewers, just to keep them crystals out. A couple of your most important ones, just keep them on your dresser or what have you, and just keep them out of the direct sunlight.
Yeah.
Is what I'm told, and just leave them there, and there may be some more magic occur. So this is very good to hear this. And was that
Yeah.
Natalia? Was it? Did you say?
Natalia.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
Natalia.
that, Natalia. Yeah, great. And Natalia, please private message me if you get any more information on that. At this time, I would suggest that any heaven, some of these amazing things occur if you're able to take photos of your crystals or movies. Let's just keep it low profile yet, and we'll gather up. Let's say when it's time, we'll gather up enough of the um, footage and things that we can put it out in one big bang, one big punch, if we need to. Just a
Yeah.
suggestion, but everyone, if you're having fun with something happen with your crystals, if you feel you've got to put it out there, hey, go ahead. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm only
Yeah.
suggesting. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And then Jean mentioned, why would you leave them out if the sun when a lot of people say to have them in the sun to charge them?
Well, I believe they're pretty well charged, but Gene, don't forget now that you are charged more than you ever were, and that you're connected to your crystals. So in the past, let's say your crystals needed to be charged up to help charge you up, but you are now multidimensional beyond anything you were before. So you are more you can also, send frequency and light into your crystals if they need it. But there's also with the crystals, let's say they are in kind of a dormant stage right now that they don't require much light. The moon, yeah, you can the moon, but I'd suggest keep them out of the sun. But each do as what you feel you're guided to do with them. If it resonates what I said, do that. If it resonates with you to put your crystals in the sun, do that. But if you put them in the sun, I suggest to monitor them and do not leave them there very long because they may explode and you'll lose your
Okay.
crystal.
Yeah. And Jean just said, wow, thank you. Intense heat happening while you're talking. Wow, I love
Yeah.
it.
But if you have a
She's
lesser
being charged
crystal,
already. Charge more.
if you have a lesser crystal, put that out in the sun and see what happens. But your main crystals, any of you that been given rocks and crystals or that come by a crystal or certain healing rocks by what you thought was by chance or very profound um, circumstances, those are directly delivered to you for a reason. And if you have any of those are the ones to place on your dresser. Because as you know, they did not, uh, well, let's say they came magically. And, even if you're guided to one, if you're in a crystal store, that is the same thing, It was speaking to you and you're guided to it, and that is your crystal and you know it. So usually there's the one main one, a main quartz is usually clear quartz, but some of you can have two, perhaps it's a rose quartz to go with it, an amethyst, or, your higher ones. Some of you in the past might have had, darker ones like smoky quartz or some of the darker stones. I know the names; they just don't come now.
Yeah.
You may not need that combination anymore. The reason you had like a darker one and a lighter one was assisting you with creating your yin yang balance. You know what I mean? So A lot of you are above that now, that you don't require that anymore.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for all the questions. Those were awesome. That was good. That was good.
Yeah,
So you want to get back to the electrical?
Well, we looked at a lot of that, more or less just to let ones know that, it's very important that the electrical happened, and also there's more bangs and lights to be seen in the sky from this as well. So this phenomenon, what 4D ones may call it, uh, actually these divine um, these divine I'm trying to find a word for it. This divine maintenance, maybe that will suffice, will continue here a bit as well. And we are entering elevated vibration. So these next several days should be great for most of you, for the overall collective. We'll be raising up higher, especially if such things, if you begin to see that martial law is enacted in the U.S., that's your confirmation game is on.
Yeah.
We got some unconfirmed, as you shared with me, Linda. We have also, some unconfirmed, I will say at this time, some unconfirmed info that perhaps the Fed is about to be shut down in the US. So it may be right at this time, or it may be shortly. So again, these are definite signs that this is very serious and that it is actually happening. But not only that, again, there are so many other things that can come into play here. And so what you have actually is the governmental thing going on the surface, while you have the divine 5D grid being anchored at the same time. So the more that gets done with the government, and the more the people raise their vibration at the same time, the more the grid locks in right around Gaia and securely comes in. And it is imminent, if you wish to picture it that way. So we are in that process in. And there's no going back with this. Wherever we go forward, in whatever timelines we are on, we keep going forward. We don't go back. No one, none of you, let's say, all that are listening to this, all of you do not wish to go back to the way things were. And because you have that sensation and that feeling, you're not going to do it. We are not going back. We always keep going forward. And, the others will follow to whatever degrees. And perhaps this leads me into the importance of the feminine, Linda.
Yes. Before you dive into that, we have a question of when do you think we'll find out about the results of the indictments and the arrests? That's from Gail.
It's going to be, let's say, it's going to be, I don't wish to say a lengthy process. What I've been given, Gail, it's about 3 months. I'm given the end of March. These next 3 months being very important with dealing with it, and clearing the foundation for a temporary new society and a new, let's say, the new financial system and systems, I will say, because things are going to change. There are 2 timelines, and this is why a lot of times I cannot give you definite answers, because one thing on the 4D timeline happens and the other on the 5D, and it depends on your vibration. But most watching this are multidimensional, and they can now enjoy either one of those timelines. Others that may be just newly awakening, tuning into this, they may have a little bit more work to do, and they may be behind on the 4D for a bit until they're able to exist in a duality of timelines of such.
Yeah, and don't you think also that the higher that we're raising our vibration, that the quicker I feel that these indictments and the arrests will happen?
Um,
Or
let's
no?
say it assists with it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it will also create more, because as we keep our vibrations higher, and everyone, hoping for and energizing the cleanup, the
Yeah.
more effectively and efficiently we clean it up by bringing to light more uh, criminal activities from the depths as well, that will, join in. And this is why, Judy Von Reach, was it? Why she says, and I've said before, and others, that these indictments will continue to climb. So
Yeah.
it is a process, and we're told, to uh, watch the show and don't get don't get involved in any of the drama with that.
Yeah.
If things begin to occur, you know what's going on. Many of you have been prepared, with having some cash money put out, because, with this, if we are on the quantum financial system timelines, during a quick transition over, there may be a slight period you'd like to have some cash to do some transactions with. So, having said that, all of the information is not out there exactly what will occur, but
Yeah.
in the least, be prepared and just have a little bit of cash stashed at home, especially for the US. Canada may be affected very quickly once the show begins, because we are intertwined, and actually, we could look at the U.S. as being the papa of Canada too. So, in that respect, what happens to the U.S., it trickles over very quickly to Canada. So, I suggest for the viewers, in North America here at least, to perhaps, yeah, just have a little bit of your cash on hand in case this is the timeline that is going to be brought quickly into play by January 1st, that we could
Okay.
begin to see more with this.
Well, that's Tuesday. Tuesday? Yeah, I think that's Tuesday. So here you go. Buckle up. All right, let's
Yeah.
dive into let's dive into the divine
Pardon?
feminine. The divine feminine.
Oh, okay. Could you repeat that, Linda? Sorry, I lost you for a moment.
Sorry, we're gonna let's dive into the divine feminine. You were gonna start talking about that, but I wanted to get these questions in there.
Yeah, that's great.
You're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, I believe we should entertain that important aspect of this. Well, again, it is the most important. And as we all know, the feminine upon the planet is leading the charge with this, and there's no denying nor refuting it. And without having definite numbers in front of me, but I'm sure most can concur that it's 75% female and 25% male that is awakened and leading the charge, roughly, just for simplicity's sake. And it's more so that, that the feminine are the strongest to do this, because of their maternal instincts, and their unconditional love that they have as a mother, that again, the father really does not have that strong of an unconditional love. So it's much more challenging for a male to integrate that. from, when they're a human male and developing and evolving spiritually. So again, you know, the feminine, they come with that intact, through their qualities and their motherly mother bearing or child bearing story ways that the patriarch or the feminine was without. The matriarch is the most powerful, and they are the ones leading the way in this. Also, they've been enhanced in the indigenous communities. It is the feminine that are leading those communities to the largest degree as well. And so, having said that, it's the utmost respect and thanks that I have for the brave warrior female feminine ones. And I would just I laugh because the other day again I was given the message sort of from Father, tell the divine feminine warrior to stand up strong, in their light. And it's always such joy and bliss to watch the feminine do this and go ahead and use their energy, use their gifts in all these beautiful ways, and not being suppressed by the patriarch and the old programmings and all of these things. So they continue to lead the charge on the divine energetic level, which is above anything on the 4D planet, uh, in lines of governments and societies. When you have a lot of these uh, feminine prowesses, uniting, they move mountains and much more, but they also move timelines, which is much greater. And they are granted the ability, along with, the others, with the male aspect as well, to do that. And so, having said that, the feminine is leading the charge. They got to keep going forward. The males will catch up later. What I say is, don't stop doing what you're doing. Learn your gifts, your divine prowess, apply it. Let's get this done. And, there are rewards at the end of the rainbows, and they are very real, and we do get them. And I know it's been very tiresome and tedious um, for some of you. You've been at this for years, and but again, it it has come to fruition, and you were the way showers at that time, the seed planters to integrate things there, and you've done an amazing job. And hey, we keep going forward.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this conversation actually sparked what Rick and I were talking a little bit before the show, that I was reading something where
Hey.
the feminine, can you hear me okay? Where the feminine had been talking about how they feel like they've, that there's a lot more women that are involved in the spirituality than the men, and that feeling like that we're going to be single the rest of our lives. And so Rick has just shared, which I feel is interesting, how it's because that we, as the feminine, the warriors, we need to take this and bring the earth to the timelines and the ascension. Is what you're saying, yes? There must be a delay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm using free Wi-Fi, and I had a van park right beside there, so it kind of cut out the Wi-Fi a bit.
Did you hear what I
Could you
said?
repeat the question?
Oh, it really wasn't a question. I was just saying that the conversation of the divine feminine sparked because I was reading a comment in one of the posts, and you and I were talking about this, and I was saying how the feminine, we feel as if, there's a lot more of the feminine that are actually in the spirituality than there are the men, and that we feel like we're going to be single, for the, do we have to, will we always be single, or, going into the fifth dimension, is there going to be anything that's going to be in the fifth dimension? So that kind of sparked this conversation of the divine feminine as to why that this is. And you were just stating it's because of the feminine having to take us to the timeline and help us to raise.
Yeah. Just from the male perspective, like let's say I'm representing the 25%. We are lonely too, and but nevertheless, the priority is to get everyone up at least to 5D accessible. So I'll have
Uh-oh.
her, Linda.
Yeah, you just kind of froze up. So you were saying get us up to the 5D to be accessible, and then you froze. But you're back. Are you there? I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Rick? I don't think he can hear me. His Wi-Fi he might have to call back in. Rick? Okay, he might click in. Rick, can you hear? Let me just text him and see. Sorry, you guys. That's what happens when you're on the internet. We've got so much energy going. Oh gosh. See if I think he might have turned his phone off. Well, I'm just going to say a few things, which I probably already reiterated. Let's see. I think the van probably cut off his. Sorry, you guys. Oops, yeah, I figured he's going to come back in because he can't really hear. Anyway, so we'll wait till he gets back in. But that's how the conversation started, because Rick had mentioned about the feminine, how they had been suppressed for centuries, and the male was looked upon as the hierarchy, so to speak. And so there you are. Rick, can you hear us?
Okay.
There you are. Okay. You're back. Yeah. I did, Nanja. Yeah. I called him back.
Oh, thank you. I was sitting here waiting.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking, okay, I'll just start talking, and then you came in. I was just saying a little bit divine. So you were saying about going into the 5D. We were talking about the feminine. Oh no.
Yeah.
Rick, can you hear me okay? Okay, you guys, I'm just gonna text him. Sorry. Maybe he'll call back. Yeah, he's gonna call back. Well, I'm just gonna say a little bit, not about the divine. A friend of mine had sent me an email regarding Trump closing down the Federal Reserve, which I thought was really interesting. And just basically saying Merry Christmas. And so not really quite sure what's going to happen with that. But hey, Rick.
Okay, we should be okay. Yeah, we should be okay now. The van pulled out, so. I should have a
Okay.
good
I thought maybe you
connection.
went out there and told me you needed to move. He's
No,
interrupting the
no,
show. No.
no. Father took care of that one anyway.
Oh, there you go. Thanks,
Yeah,
Dad.
I got to see if he's going to take care of getting me across the border if I got to go. So yeah, so okay, could you repeat? Where were we at? It was about the 5D and the feminine. Uh,
Yeah, because you were saying you were one of the 25, you consider yourself one of the 25% of the male, and you're lonely as well. And that going up to the 5D, the female have to take us up to the 5D.
yeah, yeah. So that is the divine plan to get us up there, and the more, let's say, a female or a male like myself, the more we empower ourselves in these physical vessels, the more we change things for ourselves as well. So it's much more efficient to continue empowering yourself, and this is a lonely part of the progress, but it is much more efficient and it does expedite each one coming into contact with a more perfect mate, if you will, or partner when they do this. Instead of, let's say, expending your energy at these lower vibrational levels, trying to uh, change one or to raise their vibration,
Yeah.
you are so much more effective again when you empower yourself and assist with the collective to get everything higher, and it goes much quicker. For some of you, just for an example, if you continue trying to make things work in a relationship, well, you're kind of being distracted from your own prowess, and you're expending your energy where you could be connecting it with the unity with all to raise everything higher, and then they will follow through the energetic pathway that you have created. So, and many more. So overall, as a collective, again, is what I suggest. It's okay, have your relationships, yeah, but you know for the feminine and the male, we do not wish relationships, that you got to work on each other, and what we want, if we're to have our relationships are higher, depending on the soul contracts. Uh, if we're to have our relationships, you have a relationship where you don't need to work on it. The work is already done with that. So what I suggest is no, keep going forward, because you get there quicker by
Yeah.
empowering yourself, and they will follow along later. And but also with this, and we're partly touching on perhaps a twin flame show we will do in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's important, in what I openly say to all: do not commit or obligate to any relationship in these most auspicious times, but also these most significant times to yourself and others. I'm not saying no, don't have a relationship, but perhaps it's best to have a relationship with one that is at least of compatible consciousness to a degree, so that you're not expending your energy trying to drag them along, or what have you, because it can exhaust you, and it will exhaust you, because that's your soul showing you that no, detach from it, or do something different and empower yourself. So
Yes.
it's all assured with it, but suggesting for each one to keep it much simpler to yourself. Uh, Integrate the patience, one of the greatest virtues, and work on yourself. And when the time is right, your mate will come of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll be great. I know we are going to do a 3-part series on this, the twin flame, the divine relationships. So we'll start that at some point in time. We'll let you guys know about that. So, Rick, what should we be doing? You know, the next few days you said are going to be are pretty pertinent. Is there anything that we should be doing besides keeping our our vibration up and stuff like that with the energies that are here?
Yeah. So what always usually occurs with this amount of influx of light prior to sense, again, to have this much light come in at this time, it's very significant of what's to come. So again, don't engage in any drama or negative aspects for, one's just awakening. Don't engage in that. Empower yourself. The other ones, um, we need you to keep spreading the awareness of things as it unfolds. Be the consoling angels if things get chaotic. You have all been learned and taught in this 5D timeline we may be experiencing, where martial law and these sort of things are integrated. You are the pillars of knowledge as well, and to console and apply where you may need to. So what I'm seeing with this, I'm not, well, let's say, I'm kind of feeling, because of the significant influx of light we had the last 3 days, that has knocked many down pretty sleepy, that means what's about to come is going to be very powerful. So keep high vibration and do your divine work, what you're guided to do, but don't waste energy on trivial little arguments or in the family or things like that. Walk away from it, if you don't need to. If they will not accept a higher perspective to reconcile and settle a situation, don't expend your energy on it. Don't own it, and it, just say it doesn't resonate with you and depart from it, and keep your focus on the game, on the show that is going here forward, and contribute to the overall unity, and to contribute positively in every way that you feel guided to do so.
Yeah. That's yes.
It's possible, perhaps if you're up to it, Linda, or whatever, we may, in about 3 days' time, it's very possible to do some sort of another energy update. I know that, what has transpired in the last perhaps 6 days was quite a bit. So things are speeding up, more is happening, and more excitement, and there's anticipation, but it's rightly so for everyone to anticipate it, because the things we were waiting for every day, we are seeing more documentation, more concrete signs, more confirmations that what they're what we're receiving is the factual confirmations are all aligning to that one thing, as we keep saying. The 5D timeline, perhaps the reset of currencies, the quantum financial system, the cleanup of the swamp is the first, and then the other things swiftly follow. So we're not, what we're doing, and I'm not talking on speculation, and you nor the other ones, we say what we feel, but we also share the documentation that is there on the 4D timelines, very strongly suggesting that it is so. And with our creator status within each one of us in creating our reality, it is so important that you want this change. So you put your energy with supporting that change, the divinity.
Yeah.
You don't want to go back to the way things were. You have this opportunity to energetically and divinely support a higher timeline where we don't need to go back. So I suggest keep supporting and keep believing that higher wish that you wish to occur.
Yes, I agree. 100%. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I believe we all do.
Did-
We want this. We were tired of
Yeah.
the way things were, and and divinely we were sent here to facilitate the great change and the great awakening and the great ascension. And it's not a figment of imagination anymore. Your signs are everywhere, and they are ramping up. And it's so what more like can we say? It's real. We know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just that, yeah. So it's cool.
Yeah. Now, I just heard another question. What about any more waves of energy? What's your thoughts on that? Like, will we continue to get these waves of energy coming in? I know there's with the, well, I guess maybe the photonic light or uh, Planet X, or I can't remember, but there's supposed to be certain waves coming in.
Well, actually, we create our waves, and divinely they are created. But let's say again, ever since December 9th or what have you, we've been on an upward trend. These last here's the upward trend. These last 3 days were right here, but you notice they're still on that upward trend because
Yes.
what we experienced with the lethargic or tiresome moods and ascension symptoms, they are higher symptoms to get us up here. So they are required and they're part of the upward trend. And we do just keep going higher on that. So heaven said, what I feel and what I'm given, there are no more long-term lulls or definite things. We were in a waiting mode these last 3 days, but it was, as I said, it was also an upward curve on that. It really was not a lull. And we're getting powered up for this wave that is occurring, and you can call it uh, a wave forming for the next 3 days. But what I'm feeling now, right from now, the next 3 months, it's all upward with it. It's just too much. The overall collective have become so strong, and one of the
Yeah.
indications of that, and I know you can attest to that, Linda, is that we're seeing magical things like the impressive uh, hand of God, that you posted just the other
Yeah.
day. Like I look at that
Yeah.
close at hand as well, right? And
Yeah.
it's through this divine magic and synchronicities that are, uh, they are uh, becoming more and more common. They're beginning to become a normal thing of our realities. Every day you'll have some sort of magical thing occur, and so that means it's becoming more stable with the magic, and that shows you
Yeah.
that it's very indicative of the higher vibrations that we achieve to have magic occurring almost daily. And it doesn't stop there. These little trivial magical things like seeing hearts and things, that keeps getting bigger and more profound. Perhaps like these odd lights over New York and California and Richmond. Yeah, we're getting bigger, more profound things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's shining brighter, that's for sure, which is a good sign. Yeah. Very good sign. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on with the energies or any updates? I know you had a few
Uh,
points that you had.
No, anybody got any questions or something? I'm pretty well, for one thing I will say is that, you know, it's very important what I'll be doing, and what I have requested, Linda, is that, perhaps we do a series on the divine gifts, and
Yeah.
we can do, perhaps it may take 3 interviews to do that.
Yep.
What I wish to share is the others that don't know it, and because much of it was kept secret, but to learn more how to use your divine abilities here as well. There's
Yeah.
some things were written in the ancient knowledges. They are on these timelines. They are, um, let's say, placed and seated in history, but we are on higher vibrational times where, excuse me, you can add to this and also, let's say, become much more powerful uh, divine wizards that were ever on the planet before. So things have heightened. Some of the laws, once you get up into 5D, the laws of physics, the laws of magic change. They are accelerated, they are enhanced, and there are more efficient ways to do it. So, having said that, I
Yeah.
wish to share as much that I am given in respect to that to the others. It's all about empowering each one, and whatever ways I can do that to empower, that is me. I'm always open to do that.
Yes. Yeah. We've got a lot of comments. That would be fascinating. Please do. Yes, I agree. I agree, everybody. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, well, what's
Yeah.
fun
So we'll
about
probably,
this,
yeah.
as I say, and many can attest to that, and I'm sure many of the viewers, things that I have assisted them with in the past, on a 1-to-1, they have come to see it pass, and they have come to see the magic. So, they can attest that it is real, and if they can do this one little thing, what
Yeah.
else can they do?
Yeah. Now, how will you do that via the interviews? Will you just be having people ask questions? Will you be tuning into them? Or will you just be generalizing, certain gifts for certain? I mean, I don't know how that's going to look, but how will that look?
Interesting question. I believe I will, if you're game for it, to, put out the interviews first, and then, at a later date, I can do up a write up that they can print off to have with them, if any of the viewers wish to do it that way. Um, but, having said that, I believe it would go much further, and have a much better imprint into the now, if we have the interview, as you're saying, and perhaps, as I'm discussing, as we are discussing certain things, yeah, if there are questions, it is most beneficial to come up and be answered at that time. So I'm great with that as well. If you are too, Linda.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. We'll just go with the flow like we always do. So that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
I just thought if we when we do it. Hmm.
yeah, it's whatever way we can be the most benefit is, that's what
Yeah.
I always try to do. And it's one thing Father said to me is just do your best, and that's what I always
Yeah.
try to do. So whatever way, I also think here, that uh, whatever way will whatever way will increase and expedite the processes for each and empower them more. Yeah, I want to give them whatever I can to do that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, I want to get out of here too.
Yeah. Well, then we'll post all that information and I'll get all that out. And then you guys just be prepared when we get into the interview, and I'll have it explained in there as well. So, okay. Any last words, Rick?
No, I'm good. I'm great.
All right.
No more
All right.
questions?
No, no, just a lot of comments. I know Hung had said that there's a series of volcanoes and earthquakes on dock. So that must be due to the energies.
Yeah. Let's see. No. Okay. I was going to just say a bit on another topic, but I was told no, not at this time.
Okay.
But thanks for that, Hung. I know what she is referring to, and that does have pertinence as well.
Okay.
To let's say it's in relation and connected to divine gifts.
Ah.
What is occurring, and everyone needs to remember that Gaia, the planet, is a sentient being. She is as well, and well, we all know this, and it's all interconnected. So again, when there's volcanoes erupting and earthquakes happening, there's also much going on the energetic levels. Very important things with everything that occurs with her shell, with her body, if you will.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's yeah. So very
All right.
important.
Awesome. Well, Rick, thanks so much. It's always such a pleasure. I love the conversations. I love the interviews. So thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Lyndon. Again, I love being here, and thanks all your viewers as well. Much love.
Yes.
And much love and light, and we'll see everyone soon, probably a couple days or so.
That's right. Look for the update. Probably, I don't know. We'll talk about it, but I'll get that out there as well. And thank you everybody that tuned in today, and the one who'll be watching the recording afterwards. We greatly appreciate it, and we love you. And look for the next interviews on the divine gifts, and I'll have an explanation into there as if you have any questions, to go ahead and put those up and on the comment section if you're going to join, and like I said, we'll have more information. But thanks everybody. Love you. See you later. Bye.